if we have time, what does the Chaitanya Charitamrita have to say about the same content? So the next day,
disciple of Prabhupada visiting from Govardhan from down here. Yes, about 2 months.
The next day, Sriman Ramananda Rai came again to see the Lord in the evening, and there were further discourses on transcendental subject matter. What is the highest standard of education? Lord Chaitanya began his inquiry, and Ramananda Rai immediately replied that the highest standard of education is knowledge of the science of Krishna. The standard of material education is sense gratification, but the highest standard of spiritual education is knowledge of the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.29.49 states, that work which pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest work, and that science or knowledge which pleases one which places one in full Krishna consciousness is the highest knowledge. End quote. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, while instructing his childhood friends at school, stated that hearing of the Lord, chanting about him, remembering him, worshiping him, praying to him, serving him, making friends with him, and offering everything to him constitute the highest spiritual knowledge. Then Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Rai, what is the greatest reputation one can have? Ramananda Rai immediately replied that a person reputed to be Krishna conscious should be considered the most famous man in the world. One who is famous as a Krishna conscious man has eternal fame. In the material world, everyone is striving for three things. He wants his name to be perpetuated. He wants his fame to be broadcast all over the world. And he wants some profit from his material activities. But no one knows that all this material name, fame, and profit belong to the temporary material body, and that as soon as the body is finished, all name, fame, and profit are finished also. It is only due to ignorance that everyone is striving after the name, fame, and profit connected with the body. Excuse me. But actually, it is deplorable to become famous on the basis of the body, or to become known as a man of spiritually developed consciousness without knowing the Supreme Spirit Vishnu. Real fame belongs to one who attains Krishna consciousness in this very life. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20 and 21, there are 12 authorities, and they're all famous because they were all great devotees of the Lord. These authorities are Brahma, Narad, Lord Shiva, Manu, Kapila, Prahlada, Janaka, Bhishma, Shukdev Goswami, Bali Yamaraj, and the Kumaras. These personalities are still remembered because they were all great stalwart devotees of the Lord. And the Garuda Purana, it is said that in the age of Kali, it is very rare to find a famous devotee of the Supreme Lord, a position better than that of such demigods as Brahma or Lord Shiva. Concerning talks between Narad and Pundarik, Yudhishthira said, he is most famous and can deliver all others who, after many, many births, comes to understand that he is the servant of Vasudeva. Servant of Vasudeva. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, 7.19, Krishna tells Arjuna, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge and surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. In the Adi Purana, it is said that liberation and transcendental life follow all the devotees of God. In the Brihanaradi Purana, it is stated that even personalities like Brahma and the other demigods do not know the value of a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Garuda Purana points out that out of many thousands of Brahmanas, the one who is expert in performing sacrifices is famous. Out of thousands of such expert Brahmanas, the one who is expert in knowledge of the Vedanta Sutra is more famous. And out of many, many thousands of such Vedantists, the one who is a devotee of Lord Vishnu is most famous. There are many devotees of Vishnu, and out of them, he who is unflinching in his devotion is most famous and is eligible to enter the kingdom of God. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3.13.4, it is also stated that there are many famous students of the Vedas, but that one who is always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart is the best student of all. In the Narayan Vyuhastava prayers, it is said that if the great Lord Brahma is not a devotee of the Lord, he is most insignificant. Whereas if a microbe is a devotee of the Lord, he is most famous. Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy, who possesses the most valuable thing in the world? Ramananda Roy replied that he who has love for Radha Krishna possesses the most valuable jewel and the greatest riches. One who is addicted to material sense gratification or material wealth is not really wealthy. When one comes to the spiritual platform of Krishna consciousness, he can understand that there are no riches more valuable than love of Radha Krishna. It is recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Maharaj Dhruva sought out the Supreme Lord because he wanted to get some land. But that when he finally saw Krishna, he said, I'm so pleased, I don't want anything. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also stated that if one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in other words, is elevated to the supreme state of love of Godhead, he has nothing more to aspire for. Although such devotees can attain whatever they desire from the Lord, they do not ask anything from him. When Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Rai what is the most painful experience in human society, Ramananda Rai replied that separation from a pure devotee is the most painful experience. In other words, when there is no devotee of the Lord present, there is great suffering in society, and association with other people becomes painful. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3.30, text 6 and 7, it is stated that if one who is bereft of the association of a pure devotee tries to become happy through society, friendship, and love devoid of Krishna consciousness, he is to be considered the most distressed condition. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita 1.5.54, it is stated that the association of a pure devotee is more desirable than life itself, and that in separation from him, one cannot pass even a second happily. Lord Chaitanya then asked Ramananda Rai, out of many so-called liberated souls, who's actually liberated? Ramananda replied that one who is completely saturated with devotional love for Radha Krishna is considered the best of all liberated persons. Similarly, it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.14.5 that a devotee of Narayana is so rare that only one can be found among millions and millions of liberated people. And out of all songs, what song do you think is the best? Lord Chaitanya asked. Ramananda replied that any song which describes the pastimes of Radha Krishna is the best song. The conditioned soul is captivated by sex. All literary works of fiction, dramas, novels, and so on describe love between men and women. Since people are so attracted to this kind of literature, Krishna appeared in this material world and displayed his transcendental loving affairs with the gopis. There is an immense literature dealing with the loving exchanges between the gopis and Krishna. And anyone who takes shelter of this literature or of the stories about Radha Krishna can enjoy actual happiness. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.36, it is said that the Lord displayed his pastimes in Vrindavan in order to reveal his actual life. Any intelligent person who tries to understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna is most fortunate. The songs that tell of those pastimes are the greatest songs in the world. Lord Chaitanya then inquired, what is the most profitable thing in the world? The essence of all auspicious events. Ramananda Rai replied that there is nothing as profitable as the association of pure devotees. And what do you recommend a person should think of? Lord Chaitanya asked. Ramananda replied that one should always think of the pastimes of Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness. Krishna has multiple activities, and they're described in many Vedic scriptures. One should always think of those pastimes. That is the best meditation and the highest ecstasy. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.36, Shukdev Goswami confirms that one should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, one should not only think of him, but also hear and chant his name, fame, and glories. And what is the best type of meditation? Lord Chaitanya inquired. He who meditates on the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna is the best meditator. Ramananda Rai answered. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.14. It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead alone, he who is the master of all devotees, whose name one should always chant and who should always be meditated upon and worshipped regularly. Where should a person live, giving up all other places? Lord Chaitanya next inquired. Ramananda replied that one should give up all other places and live in Vrindavana, where Lord Krishna had so many pastimes. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.47.61, Uddhava says that it is best to live in Vrindavana, even as a plant or a creeper. It was in Vrindavan that the Supreme Lord lived, and it was there that the gopis worshipped him, the ultimate goal of all Vedic knowledge. And what is the best subject to hear of? Lord Chaitanya next asked. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna, Ramananda replied. Actually, when the pastimes of Radha and Krishna are heard from the right source, one at once attains liberation. Unfortunately, sometimes people are misguided because they do not hear these pastimes from a self-realized soul. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.39 that one who hears the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis will attain the highest platform of devotional service and be freed from material lust, which overwhelms everyone's heart in the material world. In other words, the actual result of hearing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna is to get rid of all material lusts. One who does not become freed from material lust in this way should not indulge in hearing of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Unless we hear from the right source, we will misinterpret the pastimes of Radha and Krishna and think they are ordinary affairs between a man and a woman. In this way, we shall be misguided. Who is the most worshipable deity? Lord Chaitanya next inquired. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next inquired. Ramananda Rai immediately replied that the transcendental couple, Sri Radha and Krishna, is the ultimate object of worship. There are many worshipable objects. For example, the impersonalists worship the Brahmajyoti, but by such worship, one becomes bereft of life's symptoms and becomes just like a tree or other non-moving living entity. Those who worship the so-called void those who worship the so-called void also attain such results. Those who are after material enjoyment, bhukti, worship the demigods and achieve their planets and thus enjoy material happiness. Lord Chaitanya next inquired about those who are after material happiness and those who are after liberation from material bondage. Where do they ultimately go? He asked. Ramananda Roy replied that those who aspire for liberation ultimately turn into trees, and that the others attain the heavenly planets where they enjoy material happiness. Ramananda Roy went on to say that those who have no taste for Krishna consciousness or spiritual life are just like crows who take pleasure in eating the bitter neem fruit. It is the poetic cuckoo that eats the buds of the mango tree. The unfortunate transcendentalists simply speculate on dry philosophy, whereas the transcendentalists who are in love with Radha and Krishna are just like cuckoos enjoying the buds of the mango tree of love of Godhead. Thus, those who are devotees of Radha and Krishna are the most fortunate. The bitter neem fruit is not at all eatable. It is simply full of dry speculation and is fit only for crow-like philosophers. Mango buds, however, are very relishable, and those in the devotional service of Radha and Krishna enjoy them. Thus, Radha, Ramananda Roy, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked for the entire night. They sometimes danced, sometimes sang, and sometimes cried. After they had passed the night in this way, at dawn, Ramananda Roy returned to his place. The next evening, he returned to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After discussing Krishna for some time, Ramananda Roy fell at the lotus feet of the Lord and said, "My dear Lord, you are so kind to me that you have taught me about the science of Krishna, the science of Radharani, the science of their loving affairs, the science of their rasa dance, and the science of their pastimes. I never thought that I should be able to speak on these subject matters. You have taught me as you formerly taught the Vedas to Lord Brahma." This is the system of receiving instructions from Supersoul. Externally, he is not to be seen, but internally he speaks to the devotee. That is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10. The Lord dictates from within to anyone who is sincerely engaged in his service. And the Lord acts in such a way that such a person can ultimately attain the supreme goal of life. When Brahma was born, there was no one to instruct him. Therefore, the Supreme Lord himself instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge through Brahma's heart. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.22, Shukdev Goswami confirms that the Gayatri Mantra was first imparted within the heart of Brahma by the Supreme Lord. Shukdev Goswami then prays to the Lord to similarly help him speak Srimad Bhagavatam before Maharaj Parikshit. The first verse of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes the supreme absolute truth as he who instructed Brahma through the heart. In that verse, Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, states, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of the cosmic manifestation and its maintenance and dissolution as well." If we scrutinizingly try to understand the absolute truth, we can understand that he knows everything, directly and indirectly. He is the only Supreme Personality, and it is he only who is fully independent. He alone instructed Brahma as the Supersoul within. Even the greatest scholars become bewildered in trying to understand the supreme truth because the entire perceivable cosmic manifestation is situated within him. This material manifestation, a byproduct of fire, water, air, and earth, only appears to be factual. It is in him alone that the spiritual and material manifestations, as well as the living entities, rest. Therefore, he is the supreme truth. Ramananda Roy continued speaking to Lord Chaitanya. "First, I saw you as a sannyasi, and then I saw you as a cowherd boy. Now I see before you a golden doll, and due to its presence, your complexion has become golden. Yet I also see you as a dark-complexioned cowherd boy. Will you kindly explain why am I seeing you in this way? Please tell me without reservation." It is the nature of highly elevated devotees to see Krishna in everything, Lord Chaitanya replied. Whenever they see anything, they do not see the form of that particular thing, they see Krishna. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.45. Yeah, okay, so we I think maybe we should stop now.
Yeah.
In the TLC, and then we can just read from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the same content. But Madhya Lila chapter 8 talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. Now there's a summary here, but since we've already summarized, well, it's just 2 paragraphs, I can read it. The summary of the 8th chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. After visiting the temple of Jyara Narasimha, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the banks of river Godavari to a place known as Vidyanagar. When Srila Ramananda Rai went there to take his bath, they met. After introducing himself, Sri Ramananda Rai requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to remain in the village for some days. Honoring his request, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed there in the home of some Vedic Brahmanas. In the evening, Srila Ramananda Rai used to come to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramananda Rai, who was clothed in ordinary dress, offered the Lord respectful obeisances. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu questioned him on the object and process of worship, and also asked him to recite verses from the Vedic literature. First of all, Srila Ramananda Rai enunciated the system of the Varnashram institution. He recited various verses about Karnamarpanam, stating that everything should be dedicated to the Lord. He then spoke of detached action, knowledge mixed with devotional service, and finally of the spontaneous, loving service of the Lord. After hearing Srila Ramananda Rai recite some verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the principle of pure devotional service devoid of all kinds of speculation. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to explain the higher platform of devotional service. Then Srila Ramananda Rai explained unalloyed devotional service, love of Godhead, and serving the Lord in the moods of pure servitude, fraternity, and parental love. Finally, he spoke of serving the Lord in conjugal love. He then spoke of how conjugal love can be developed in various ways. This conjugal love attains its highest perfection in Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. He next described the position of Srimati Radharani and the transcendental mellows of love of God. Srila Ramananda Rai then recited a verse of his own concerning the platform of ecstatic vision, technically called Prema Vilasa Vivarta. Srila Ramananda Rai also explained that all stages of conjugal love can be attained through the mercy of the residents of Vrindavan, especially by the mercy of the gopis. All these subject matters were thus vividly described. Gradually, Ramananda Rai could understand the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his real form, Ramananda Rai fell unconscious. After some days, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to retire from government service and come to Jagannath Puri. These descriptions of the meetings between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are taken from the notebook of Sarup Damodar Goswami. Sancharya Rama Bhita Bhakta Mekhe Swabhakti Siddhanta Shayamratani Gaurabdhiraitay Ramuna Vitirnais Tajñatva Ratnalayatam Trayati. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Gauranga, is the ocean of all conclusive knowledge in devotional service. He empowered Sri Ramananda Rai, who may be likened to a cloud of filled with the water of all the conclusive purports of devotional service, and was empowered by the ocean to spread this water over the sea of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Thus, the ocean of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became filled with the jewels of the knowledge of pure devotional service. Beautiful verse. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to his previous program, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went forward on his tour, and after some days arrived at the place of pilgrimage known as Jiyara Narasingha. Purport: the Jiyara Narasingha temple is situated on the top of a hill about 5 miles away from Visakhapatnam. There is a railway station on the South Indian Railway known as Singhachalam. The temple known as Singhatchala is the best temple in the vicinity of Visakhapatnam. This temple is very affluent and is a typical example of the architecture of the area. On the stone tablet, it is mentioned that formerly a queen covered the deity with gold plate. This is mentioned in the Visakhapatnam Gazetteer. About the temple, there are residential quarters for the priests and devotees. Indeed, at the present moment, there are many residential quarters to accommodate visiting devotees. The original deity is situated within the depths of the temple, but there is another deity, a duplicate, known as the Vijayamurti. This smaller deity can be moved from the temple and taken on public processions. Priests who generally belong to the Ramanuja Sampradaya are in charge of the deity worship. I first visited this temple of Singhachalam maybe around 1987, I believe it was. And I was kind of struck by this purport at that time because there wasn't a whole lot there. The temple is very much improved now. In fact, you can take a road all the way up to the top of the hill where the temple is situated. When I first went there, you had to park at the bottom of the hill and walk up the steps all the way to the top of the hill. It's a good thing I was a young man then. And those steps, I would estimate each step is a solid stone block, rectangular block that's about 2 feet by 2 feet wide. So it's not very easy to walk up that hill with such large steps, especially since it was fairly remote area at that time also. So it was actually a little bit dangerous too. Just like even today, we often hear every few years, someone at Tirupati gets mauled by a tiger. So anyway, but we did this. And there the deity of Narasimhadev is most of the time covered with chandan. That's called his Nitya Rupam, his regular daily form. And then his Nija Rupam is there when they remove the chandan only once a year. And that's on the day of Akshaya Tritiya, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, it's one of the many temples, Varaha Narasimha. He's a combination of Varaha and Lord Narasimha considered to be there. So Prabhupada is talking about that place. Now they have a parking lot up at the top and all facility is there. Anyways, Narasimha Dekhiya Kailo Dandavat Pranati Prema Veshe Kailo Bahunritya Gita Stuti. Upon seeing the deity of Lord Narasimha in the temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his respectful obeisances by falling flat. Then in ecstatic love, he performed various dances, chanted, and offered prayers. Sri Narasimha Jaya Narasimha Jaya Jaya Narasimha. Prathadesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. All glories to Nrsimhadev, all glories to Nrsimhadev, who is the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj and like the honeybee, is always engaged in beholding the lotus-like face of the goddess of fortune. Report, the goddess of fortune is always embraced by Lord Nrsimhadeva. This is mentioned in the commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam written by the great commentator Srila Sridhar Swami. The following verse was composed by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10.87.1. Actually, in that chapter, virtually every verse is quoting by Sridhar Swami's commentary, that is Bhavartha Deepika. Practically every verse of the 87th chapter of the 10th canto, Prayers by the Personified Vedas, is quoting another one of these verses offered to Lord Nrsimhadev by Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami was a great worshipper of Lord Nrsimha. So, Vag Isha Yasya Vadane Lakshmir Yasya Cha Bhakshasi Yasyaste Hridaye Samvit Tam Nrsimhamaham Bhaje. Lord Nrsimhadev is always assisted by Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and he's always embracing the goddess of fortune to his chest. The Lord is always complete in knowledge within himself. Let us offer obeisances unto Nrsimhadeva. Similarly, in his commentary on the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.1.1, Sridhar Swami describes Lord Nrsimhadev in this way. Prahlada hridayahladam bhakta vidyavidaranam shararinduruchim vande parindravadhanam harim. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadeva, who is always enlightening Prahlad Maharaj within his heart and who always kills the nescience that attacks the devotees. His mercy is distributed like moonshine, and his face is like that of a lion. Let me offer my obeisances unto him again and again. Ugropya Nugra Evayam Swabhaktaram Nrakesari Keshariva Sapotanam Anyesham Ugra Vikramaha. Although very ferocious, the lioness is very kind to her cubs. Similarly, although very fearsome to the non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev is very, very soft and kind to devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. This verse was composed by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7.9.1. As we can see here from Srila Prabhupada's purports, Srila Sridhar Swami was a great worshipper of Lord Nrsimhadev. We've jumped all the way from 10th canto to the 1st canto, now to the 7th canto, all throughout. He's glorifying the Lord as Narasimha. Narahari. Matanana shloka paristuti koilo, Narasimha shevaka mala prasadani tilo. In this way, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited different verses from the Shastra. The priest of Lord Nrsimhadev then brought garlands and the remnants of the Lord's food and offered them to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As usual, a Brahmana offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu an invitation. The Lord passed the night in the temple and then commenced his tour again. As we can see here from Srila Prabhupada's purport and from this description, the priests in this temple of Singhachalam, Lord Nrsimhadev, Varaha Nrsimha, they seem to have been Sri Vaishnavas for a long time, because Ramanujacharya appeared about 1,000 years ago, and this is only 500 years ago. For at least 500 years, these devotees had been worshipping Lord Nrsimhadev, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated their service. And he came to visit in the form of the golden avatar. The next morning, in the great ecstasy of love, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started on his tour with no knowledge of the proper direction, and he continued the whole day and night. As previously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted to Vaishnavism many people he met on the road. After some days, the Lord reached the banks of the river Godavari. When he saw the river Godavari, the Lord remembered the river Yamuna. And when he saw the forest on the banks of the river, he remembered Sri Vrindavan Dham. The only difference is that there are many mountains in that part of the Godavari River. They also call it Gautami Ganga, near just where the Godavari River runs into the Bay of Bengal. Another famous place there called Bhadrachalam. And you can go there and take bath in the water there, although it's only about 2 or 3 feet deep. Anyway, this is Godavari River, famous river. Gange cha yamane chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindho Kaveri Jalismin Sannidhim Guru, we pray. When we take our bath and when we bathe the deity, that all these holy places will come into the water that we're bathing with. So go to Ganga or Godavari is one of those. After performing his usual chanting and dancing for some time in this forest, the Lord crossed the river and took his bath on the other bank. Ghatachari kuda dure, kata dure jala samnidhane, Vashi Prabhu kare Krishna nama sankirtane. After bathing in the river, the Lord walked a little distance from the bathing place and engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hanokale dolai chari Ramanandarai, snan paribari aila bhajna bhajai. At that time, accompanied by the sounds of music, Ramanandarai came there on a palanquin to take his bath. Tara sange bahu aila vaidik brahman vidhimate kailote hosnanadi tarpan. Many brahmanas following Vedic principles accompanied Ramananda Rai. According to Vedic rituals, Ramananda Rai took his bath and offered oblations to his forefathers. Prabhutane dekhi jani loe Rama Rai, tahare nilite prabhur manothidhai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the person who had come to bathe in the river was Ramananda Rai. The Lord wanted so much to meet him that his mind immediately began running after him. Tathapi dhairya dhari prabhu rahila bashiya Ramananda ailo apurva sannyasi dekhiya. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was running after him mentally, he patiently remained sitting. Ramananda Rai, seeing the wonderful sannyasi, then came to meet him. Surya Shatasham Kanti Arunabhashana Shubalita Prakanda Deho Kamalalocham. Srila Ramananda Rai then saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be as brilliant as 100 suns. The Lord was covered by a saffron garment. He was large in body and very strongly built, and his eyes were like lotus petals. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to see Ramananda Rai because Ramananda Rai is, after all, his eternal servitor. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained sitting patiently, even though his mind was very agitated. It would appear from this that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply wanted to follow the standard social etiquette in order to set the example for the rest of us. Because yad yad achariti shreshtas tat tat evetaro janaha sayat pramanam purite lokastad anavartate. Whatever the great persons in society do, ordinary persons will follow, because their behavior itself becomes the praman by which most people judge what to do and what not to do. So devotees of ISKCON have to be very cautious about that. And then it says, Surya Shadashana Kanti. His luster was like, 1,000 suns. This was my own experience, and recently in North Carolina, someone asked me to describe. They always ask, tell us about your association with Srila Prabhupada. That was it. The first time I saw Srila Prabhupada, I could understand immediately that from his transcendental luster, he was just shining like the sun god, but not in a physical sense. It's very hard to describe how it was like this because it was a physical shine, but it was not a physical shine at one at the same time. And that makes no sense because our sense is limited. Anyway, it reminds me of that. Surya Shatasava Kanti Arunavashan, and he had this cloth, the color of the rising sun, Shubhalita Prakanda Deha, and he had a great stout body, and what kind of eyes? Kamalalocham. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Dekhiya tha haramane hoilo chamatkar, Ashia korilo dandavat namaskar. When Ravananda Roy saw the wonderful sannyasi, he was struck with wonder. He went to him and immediately offered his respectful obeisances, falling down like a rod. Uti Prabhu kahe, Ushau kaha Krishna Krishna, Tari alingite Prabhu hridaya satrishna. The Lord stood up and asked Ramananda Roy to arise and chant the name of Krishna. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to embrace him. Tathapi puchilo tumira Ramananda, Teho kahe sheha dasha shutravanda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then inquired whether he was Ramananda Roy, and he replied, yes, I'm your very low servant, and I belong to the Shudra community. Dasa Shutravanda. Tabe tare kailo Prabhu drisha alingan, Premabeshe Prabhu Bhritya Donhe Achetan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Sri Ramananda Roy very firmly. Indeed, both the master and the servant almost lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. Shwabhavika prema doha rudai korila, doha lingara dohe humite parila. Their natural love for each other was awakened in them both, and they embraced and fell to the ground. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Ramananda was an incarnation of the Gopi Vishakha. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Lord Krishna himself, there was naturally an awakening of love between Vishakha and Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combination of Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and the Gopi Vishakha is the principal Gopi assisting Srimati Radharani. Thus, the natural love between Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakened, and they embraced. Not only would Ramananda Roy feel ecstasy, or Vishakha Devi feel ecstasy by seeing Lord Krishna, but she would also even feel ecstasy upon seeing Srimati Radharani, her dearmost friend, of whom she is the most loyal servant. And so what to speak of seeing both of them together? It was an overwhelming experience. And therefore, what happened? Stambha Shveda Ashrukampa Pulaka Vaibanya Tumhar Mukhete Shuni Gadgara Krishna Varna. When they embraced each other, ecstatic symptoms, paralysis, perspiration, tears, shivering, paleness, and standing up of the bodily hairs appeared. The word Krishna came from their mouths falteringly. Dekhiya Brahmana Ganera Hailo Chamatkar, Vaidik Brahmana Shabkaren Vichar. When the stereotyped ritualistic Brahmanas who were following the Vedic principles saw this ecstatic manifestation of love, They were struck with wonder. All these brahmanas began to reflect as follows. Aito shanyashira tejo dekhi brahmasham shutriyalingana kene karin prandam. The Brahmins thought, we can see that this sannyasi has luster like the effulgence of Brahman. But how is it that he's crying upon embracing a Shudra, a member of the fourth caste in the social order? He Maharaja Mahapandita Gambhir Shanyashira Sparashe Mattahaiga Sthir. They thought this Ramananda Roy is the governor of Madras, a highly learned and grave person, a Mahapandit. But upon touching the sannyasi, he's become restless like a madman. Emata vipragana bhave bhareman vijatiya loka dekhi prabhu kaila shamavan. While the Brahmanas were thinking in this way about the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw those outsiders and restrained his transcendental emotions. Purport. Ramananda Roy was intimately related to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he can be accepted as a sajatiya, a person within the intimate circle of the Lord. The Brahmanas, however, were followers of the Vedic rituals and were not able to have an intimate connection with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Consequently, they are called vijatiya lok, outsiders, that is. In other words, they were not pure devotees. One may be a highly learned Brahmana, but if he is not a pure devotee, he is a vijatiya, an outcast, one outside devotional service. In other words, a non-devotee. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy were embracing an ecstasy, the Lord restrained his transcendental emotions upon seeing the outsider Brahmanas. Shushtahiya doheshei sthane deboshila tabe hashi Mahaprabhu kahite lagila. When they regained their sanity, they both sat down and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and began to speak as follows. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya kahila tomar gune, tomare milite mora korila jatane. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya spoke of your good qualities and he made a great endeavor to convince me to meet you. Toma milibare more itagamana. Indeed, I've come here just to meet you. It's very good that even without making an effort, I've gotten your interview here. Ramananda Roy replied, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thinks of me as his servant. Even in my absence, he's very careful to do me good. Tara kripai painu tomara darshan, aji shafal hailo mora manushya janama. By his mercy, I have received your interview here. Consequently, I consider that today I have become a successful human being. Okay, we've just got maybe less than 10 minutes. So maybe it's time for questions if anybody has any questions or any comments. I don't know who's saying anything, but I can't see any questions.
Hare Krishna Babu, Dandavat Pranam to everyone. Prabhu, Ramananda Rai is the Visakha Sakhi or Arjun? I have a doubt. Can you please explain a little bit about it?
Your doubt is quelled by the grace of Kavi Karnapur and his Gord Ganaldeshi Dipika, which was written at the end of the 16th century. There he states very clearly that Ramananda Roy is the incarnation of Vishakha Gopi, but also Arjun. That part you may not be able to understand, but we can hear from authorities and accept it It's possible in spiritual life. How it's possible, that we have to experience.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question. It does answer your question, but may not satisfy your question.
No. So at least we can get some clarity from you. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. And another thing, Prabhu, Ramananda Rai has some at the end of his life, he got the something, some diseases, right? Why diseases? I heard that. So is it correct or not? Something it is correct or not?
This I don't know. Doesn't sound right to me. But I've not heard this from Prabhupada. Who did you hear it from?
Maybe I am wrong, Prabhu. Sorry, Dandavat Pranam. Sorry.
You didn't answer my question.
I heard from the other lectures. That's the.
Yeah, okay. Well, we always have to scrutinize the sources that we're quoting, and we always have to inquire from someone who says something that doesn't sound right. Where is this from? Because if you do that, you'll understand that the person will either say something vague or try to change the topic or fail to produce a solid praman, or he'll justify the argument, one of those four.
Okay.
But Krishna instructs us through Arjuna that we have to recite Vedic literature, and Prabhupada explains that means that whenever we speak about spiritual life, we have to know the references for what we're saying. In fact, he told us, you have to know my books just as well as the lawyers know their law books.
Okay. Sure, Prabhu. Dandavat
Okay.
Pranam.
Anything else?
No, that's all. Dandavat Pranam.
Plus one other raised hand, but I'm not seeing it. Let me see if I can tweak the screen and show what else is here. Yeah, well,
Where it
You came mad. Hello, wait.
yeah, within 5 minutes. Kishori Priya, if you can unmute, because we're not hearing you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Got it.
So my question was related to this part where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that Ramananda Rai had come to see him, and he was very anxious to meet him. So just trying to understand what this means in terms of is it what and later on it is explained that it's because Ramananda Rai is Vishaka Sakhi and Krishna was anxious to meet him. But is there anything else from this pastime that we can understand?
Not sure I understand your question.
So my question is related to so it is stated here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the person who has come there is Ramananda Rai, and he was really anxious. And it seems as if there was this, something transcendental going on there. So I was just trying to understand what is that mood and what does it signify. It later on it is explained that since Ramananda Rai is Vishaka Sakhi, it's natural that Krishna has this attraction for Ramananda Rai. But I was trying to understand, is it Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that who drew Ramananda Rai there, or was it something that was?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the sense that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's orchestrating all things behind the scenes, directly or indirectly. I mean, in that sense, you can say that he's the one who drew Ramananda Rai there. So yeah, his Yoga Maya, his internal potency would have orchestrated that Ramananda Rai came where he came, when he came. So it was all just part of the pastime.
Thank you so much.
Anything else? I don't think he's here.
I think there is one question from Manjulali Gobidasi. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Dandavat Pranam, dear devotees. I've just come from India and we're visiting New Jersey. And thank you very much for this wonderful class. And as it was there in the passage also, that what is the most unhappiest thing is that for one is that being away from devotees. But I don't feel that way now after hearing this class. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for this wonderful association. And one realization is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and he already knows what is what. But still, he asks these questions to Srila Ramananda Rai and also shows symptoms of ecstasy. So it's so amazing. He already knows it, but still, these symptoms are genuine. So it's so amazing that Krishna himself, hears about himself and, feels ecstatic. And when will that bhava come in us? Only by devotees' mercy. So just a small realization that way. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, so we have to go now. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mudagata Prabhu. Thank you so much for your association. It was so great that even little time that we have. Thank you so much. They were wonderful association, a wonderful class. So I think there is also a class continuously, 8:15. Devotees can join us. Also on Saturday, Puji is also will be there in the temple, and also Sunday, also Puji speaking. So let's thank Puji. Say Haribol 3 times. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol,
Haribol.
Puji. Anything else? Any other comments, concerns, questions? Anybody would like to add?
Yes, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Dandavat
Pranam or go Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada. So, Prabhu,
Yeah.
this, Prabhu, in Puri nearby the Alarnath, right? Alarnath, there is some
Yes.
big stone, and we can see that the mark of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there, right? I think that.
Yes.
So this stone is already melted, right?
Yes.
So that stone already melted. So it means it is the stone can melt also, Prabhu.
Stone can melt, yes, of course. Anything can happen, Puji. This entire world is coming and going, appearing and disappearing, creation and disappearance, destructions. Everything happens through that, the spiritual potential, that potency of the Lord. Always you understand that. Anything that everything happening in this world because of that great potency of the Supreme Lord. That what we see is little just tiny portion of it. Right? So the Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with the ecstasy of the feeling of separation and Vipralamba Bhav, when Jagannath, Lord Jagannath is on the Anavasara period, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is running to Alarnath to see the Lord. And then as soon as saw the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fainted down, and just that itself, that you can go and see that the entire stone is actually melted with that, the heat or that ecstasy, that feeling of separation. So anything can happen in this world. That's all coming from the Lord's potency. So when the Lord himself, the Supreme Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exhibiting these wonderful pastimes, anything would happen, anything can happen.
Yeah, so we can see that the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hand, legs, everything is that signs there, right? So
Yes.
that means the Supreme Personality Godhead's laid down there, and we can see that directly. That is an amazing thing, Prabhu.
Yes, yes, yes. So Lord is there. So this is also Lord is showing that now we have the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is the essence of, or which teaches of the mission of the ISKCON, or we can say words we need to follow, which is mentioned in these teachings of Lord Chaitanya, right? The entire discussions between Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Sarva Bhattacharya, Prakashananda Saraswati, Ramananda Rai, right? These are wonderful discussions and revealing the heart of the Supreme Lord, what a person is supposed to follow in the path of bhakti, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Very good. Yeah. So, dear devotees, anything else? Saturday is Snana Yatra. So everybody, please, everybody is invited. A wonderful program at the temple. This is Lord Jagannath's appearance day. Everybody is invited. Also, you all can bring some bhoga for the Lord on this particular day. And yeah, participate in the Abhishek. We'll be having Abhishek for everybody. Please join as early as possible by 5.
विकास तुम डोर बंद कर दो, अब ना मच्छर आते हैं अंदर बहुत.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So Mukunda Datta Prabhu also will come to this Sanajatra?
Yes.
Or
Yes. Prabhu will be there on the temple, Snana Yatra, as well as on Sunday as well. Mara Prabhuji is going to give the class.
Okay. Very good. Dandavat.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. So please join tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be concluding this chapter, 32nd chapter, the conclusion. Then we will be having a separate section, 5 sections of the summarized version of the discussions between each person by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this will be a condensed discussions and the essence that what we can learn from it, right? What we can understand from it. We humbly request everybody please join, and this will be so that we can understand clearly. Some devotees must have missed some classes, or disconnect between the part 1 and part 2. So now this is a condensed, summarized version of. So we'll take 5 sections of it, and then most probably we'll be starting the Vaishnava etiquette classes for after that. Okay, so we'll confirm that as well. Okay, if nothing else, let's conclude today's session. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining today.
Yes.
Vancha kalpatarupasya kripa sindhubheva cha patidanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Virashi Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Gaudi Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.